Hello everyone, and welcome to Story Time with Kristina. That's me. So what this is going to be is, since we're all stuck at home right now trying to, occupy ourselves and make sure that we're not going, bored or going too stir crazy, I figured it would be fun for me to share some of my book recommendations for you guys. I am an avid reader, have been since about 8th grade, and I've come across a wide variety of books and want to share some of my favorites with you and, possibly, hopefully encourage you to read some of them, and, you can always share some feedback with me if you've ever, read it, or if you are going to read it. Just, share some feedback with me. That would be wonderful, because, not everybody likes the same books, but, I feel like I'm going to give you a good variety. So about every week, I will do one of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little excerpt from it after I kind of explain about the book, no spoilers, but explain to you why I like it and the things like that. So for this week, the book is Bloody Jack by L.A. Mayer. The subtitle is Being an Account of the Curious Adventures of Mary Jackie Faber, Ship's Boy. So this book, I discovered it in high school. Because I read a lot, had most of the time, sometimes when you read a lot, you can have this idea of, once you're a third of the way through the book, pretty much how the story's going to end. Because books tend to have a general timeline of how things are going to work, general pattern. That's how books are. It makes sense. But I always wanted to find an author that I would think for 3/4 of the book that I knew what was going to happen. But in the last fourth, he's just kidding. It's not at all what's happening. And that was this book. This book threw me for a loop the first time I read it, and I had zero idea what was going to happen. And I liked that a lot. He's written several in a series of this. It's called the Bloody Jack series. I think there's at least 10 books at this point. And each story is unique and different. I cannot tell you enough that you are going to laugh when you read these. Jackie is a very charismatic protagonist and just lets herself be herself, and doesn't care what other people think, and I actually really enjoy that. I also really enjoy it because it's historical fiction. It's set back in the 1790s-ish, right around the beginning of the 1800s. So it's a very interesting book. It's also set in England. So the gist of the story is Jackie is a street rat on the streets of London. She's part of a street orphan gang and has always dreamed of going to bigger and better places, faraway places that she can't even imagine. And one day, a naval ship pulls up and is looking for ship's boys. So what ship's boys are is they would take young boys either off the street or sons of officers in the British Navy. They would put them on a ship, teach them, and train them to be officers eventually. So they want looking for ship's boys, and Jackie, being Jackie, decides that this is what she wants to do. So she's gonna dress like a boy and get on the ship. And all I can tell you is that there are so many adventures from that point on that you will really enjoy this. So I'm going to read the prologue of the book, which kind of gives you a little bit of Jackie's history. Then we're also going to read the scene where Jackie gets on the ship, or is trying to get on the ship, I guess is a good way to put it. So just some things to note. Jackie has a very thick Cockney accent. I am not going to attempt to try and do it, because it would be really bad and it wouldn't help anybody. And I hope that maybe this gives you a little bit of snippet into her personality and encourages you to read the book. So My name is Jackie Faber, and in London I was born. But no, I wasn't born with that name. Well, the Faber part, yes. The Jackie part, no. But they call me Jackie now, and it's fine with me. They also call me Jacko, and Jack, and the Jackaroo too. And it's true, I've been called Bloody Jack a few times. But that wasn't all my fault. Mostly, though, they just call me Jackie. That wasn't my name, though, back on that dark day when my poor dad died of the pestilence, and the men dragged him out of our rooms and down the stairs. His poor head hanging between his shoulders, and his poor feet bouncing on the stairs, and me all sobbing and blubbering, and Mom no help, she being sick too, and my little sister as well. Back then, my name was Mary. London, 1797. We'll be back for the rest of the lot in a few days, allows one of the men, and he's right, 'cause me mum and me sister both goes off the next day, and the men come back and takes me mum and puts her in the cart, her legs all dangling over the side and not covered up proper. But it's Muck that comes and picks up me poor little sister and throws her all limp over his shoulder. I didn't know him as Muck then, but I do later, and it's Muck what takes me out all bawling to the street and sets me on the curb. There, missy, there. Old Muck'll see ye soon, says he, leaving me in me tears and grief as he puts Penny in his wheelbarrow and heads off down the street. Inside of a week, I suspects. There's the sound of sweeping behind me, and the door slams shut. I runs and runs, just out of my head with terror, and I keep on running till I starts heaving and gasping and choking, and I can't run no more, and I falls down in an alley, the cobblestones all hard against me knees and cold against me face. I crawls on me hands and knees up in a dark doorway, and I puts me thumb in me mouth, and I sucks on it real hard, with me tears rolling down me face, and on me thumb, and in me mouth all salty and dirty. But I don't care. What comes is nighttime. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. What comes is nighttime, and a gang of kids what grabs me and strips off all me clothes. Ain't she the fine one, then? She's got drawers, even, says the one what pulls me dress over me head and me underdrawers off over me feet, and who, in her mercy, throws her filthy old shift at me nakedness and tells me to put it on. Shaken, I does what she says, 'cause I don't know what else to do, even though it stinks and it's way too big for me, and me clothes is way too small for her, but she puts 'em on anyways. Look at me, says the girl what stole me clothes. I'm ready for the bleeding derby, I am. Let's go, comes a voice from the end of the alley. Stoof it, Charlie, says the girl what stole me clothes. I'm not done with me toilet. The others laugh and lark about in the darkness and cast wild shadows on the walls about me, and then they heads off down the alley. The girl what throws me clothes looks back at me cowering and weeping in the doorway. Well, come on then, and quit your sniveling. It'll do ye no good. I snuffles and gets up. So that is how Jackie got initiated into the Rooster Charlie gang. And now we're gonna skip ahead to the ship, to the scene with the ship. I thinks to meself about the thought of going to sea. I sure as hell ain't got no prospects here, and it's just as dead you get from starving, mugging, or being stepped on by a horse as you get from drowning, which is, of course, the seagoing option. And I hears that they feed us even. I'll believe that when I sees it. True, I've had a bit of trouble passing as a boy, but I ain't had no trouble so far, and I've been at it for a week or so. And if they finds me out, I'm sure they just put me off somewhere, and where they put me off might be a finer place than this. Maybe a place with oranges. I ain't never had an orange. I catches a whiff of something that they might be cooking downstairs on the boat, and that settles it. Trial by belly. Case closed. I'll give it a try. All right, calls out the evil one with the knotted rope to the mob of us. What can any of yous do? Do? I wonders. What do we do? We all look around at each other. What does he think? We're all bloody runaway apprentices with trades? Missing sons of royal houses? What we do is scavenge, beg, and steal. Ain't it plain? Some of the brighter ones furrowed their brows and looked deep into their heads to see if they had any hidden virtues that might please His Majesty's Royal Navy, and most come up empty, but not all. Skipping ahead just a teensy bit. I gets me resolved together and me feet under me, and I stands up on the top of the piling and puts me fist on me hips to show I know no fear. Sir, I yells with all me might, I can read. Well, that puts a right stopper in the boy's gobs. What the heck is the good of that, they mutters. And bleeding little schoolboy he is. Bloody cheek it is. But the officer on the ship looks over at the well-rounded cove and cocks a bored eyebrow. What say, Mr. Tilden? Mr. Tilden, who looks like he'd rather be doing a plate of sausages than doing this, looks at me and says, Is that so, boy? Then what's the name of this ship? The Dolphin, sir, says I, joyfully pointing to the name. It's writ back there on the back end of the boat, sir, with the fishies. The mob grumbles in common hatred of me. And what does that say, boy? He points to a huge sign painted on the wall of a building. Ship's Chandler, sir. H.M. Wilson and Sons, I says, less sure this time. And what does it mean, boy? Why, sir, says I, sweating now, that's where Mr. Wilson and his sons make chandles for ships. I smiles hopefully and with all me charm, but there's some snorts of laughter from the ship. If you're such a grand scholar, boy, then why do you want to go to sea? You could apprentice to a printer, you could study to be a teacher. Why the hard life of a sailor? I places me hand over me thumping heart and says, Oh, sir, all me life I have longed for a life on the rolling sea. It's in me blood-like and can't be denied. I want to see the Cathay cat and the Bombay rat and gaze upon the kangaroo and all the other wonders of the world. The boys of the pack of boys, is now booing and hooting and throwing things at me, but the fat man looks at the officer and gives a short nod. Very well, boy, you can come around. Come aboard, says the officer, and I slides down the pilin with me heart in me throat and suffers a few kicks and threats and jabs on me way to the plank, but I don't care, 'cause I'm being delivered and going to sea. As I cross the plank, I look down into the dark water and give a bit of a shiver. Then I calms myself and goes on. A girl was born for hanging, ain't likely to be drowned. So I would encourage you to go read this if you have some time. And if you don't have time now, maybe you can put it in the back of your brain for later. But for right now, I will see you guys next week for more story time with me.